Hi everyone, Katie with Trans Refuge again. It's been a little while. I'll talk about why. So when I started this channel, I was still kind of going through the transition thing and figuring out how life works now that I'm living as a woman and just all those big changes that you go through. And now that I'm 4 years into this, into transitioning, not into the channel, but into transitioning, I would say other than surgery, I'm done. Like there's really nothing left to do. I've gone through the big changes, hormones and growing my hair out and changing clothing and all that stuff. So a lot of the big experiences, they're done, they're in the past. It's really not something I'm actively thinking about anymore. And that's kind of the big reason I haven't been making many videos lately is it's not a big part of my life anymore. Life has just kind of stabilized and now it's just, I'm living my life and things are pretty darn good for the most part. So on a different subject, it's relating to the channel, but not really related to being trans or transitioning or any of that stuff. But, I tend to make faith-based content, and I've recently come to the realization that it's time to change my focus. My whole thing originally was I want to really focus on trans people, helping transgender Christians and encouraging them, and also getting the message out to transgender people who may not be Christians. And initially, early in the experience of doing all this, I met a lot of people who were kind of in this place where they said, I was a Christian, and I got hurt really bad by the church. I got hurt really bad by people who call themselves Christians, and I don't know where I stand anymore. And that's been a recurring theme. But what I've been noticing is I've been encountering a lot of people of all varieties, whether transgender or cisgender, straight, homosexual, bisexual, asexual, you name it. I've been meeting a lot of people who are, have been sharing that same experience and saying, I've stopped going to church. I've stopped associating with other Christians, even though I still believe in God. Maybe even a lot of them still believe in Jesus and the Bible and things like that. But they don't know how to relate to any of it anymore because of, really bad experiences they've had with other Christians. And so they've stopped using the label of Christian, or they will use deconstructing Christian. They'll put, some kind of a descriptor along with Christian. And so I had this conversation last night with an old friend of mine who happens to be a cisgender woman. And, I had talked to her a couple of years ago, and I just reconnected with her last night. I said, hey, how would you describe where you're at right now as far as, spirituality? And she had also come from fundamentalist Christianity and had experienced some very damaging experiences. So she had this beautiful thing she said to me. She said, I feel like I'm living in this hymn that says, prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Take my heart and seal it. And I apologize if I got the lyrics not completely correct on that, but in the course of this discussion that we had, she said, basically to summarize what she said, to paraphrase it, she said, I don't know exactly what is true anymore. I still feel like I love God, and I still feel like I love Jesus. But I feel like the Jesus and the God that I was taught about as a kid is not the Jesus and the God that I am seeing at work in the world today. And that what I was taught isn't compatible with the truth and love that God is supposed to have as part of his character. What I'm seeing being exercised by Christians in the world right now, particularly here in America, doesn't seem to be the Christian love that the Bible espouses. And so I've made a decision that I'm going to change the focus of the content that I make, and I'm even going to make a different YouTube channel. So this channel will still talk about trans stuff. I'll still address things, but it might be less frequently. But I'm going to make a new channel I want to talk about just doing things in life that I didn't do before. Social anxiety and things like that was a huge part of my life before I transitioned. I didn't do much, and there were things I wanted to do, but social anxiety just kept me away from. In recent months I've started boxing, which has been amazing. I love it. I did something that I've dreamed of for years, and I had always, not always, but for many years. As a cyclist, I love cycling of all varieties, and fat bike racing in the wintertime here in the Midwest where it gets snowy and icy. It's a really unique experience, and if you've never done it, try it if you can. If you live in a climate where it's a thing, it's pretty cool, literally. So I had dreamed for quite a while of taking a bike in my minivan and setting the minivan up as a little camper and camping out overnight at one of these races and racing the next morning. So kind of a self-contained adventure. And so I did that, and it was really cool, and I'll probably make a video on the new channel about it. But I want to talk about these things that once I got past, the things that were holding me back pre-transition, and then the awkwardness of transitioning, and once life stabilized, I found that I'm able to do things, or at least I feel like doing things. I feel free to do things that previously, even though the desire was there, I just couldn't get myself to do it. And so I want to talk about that on the new channel, but I'll also talk about it here, especially more in depth as far as being transgender goes. So what's the future of this channel? I'm still going to make content specifically for transgender people, but things that are not directly related to being transgender, it's going to go on the new channel. And once I get the new channel up and running, I'll reference it here on this channel. That way, if anybody that's following me wants to go check it out, they can. But for me, it's time to move on to a broader audience. Not that I don't still care about transgender people. Not that I don't still have a heart for, other people going through the experience of being transgender. But I've reached a point in my life where the chapter's turning, and it's time to move on into new things. My life has broadened, and with that comes opportunities to talk to other people about, shared experiences, even if they're not transgenders. So that's where I'm going with all this. There's going to be a new channel, and I'm hoping to do things like I'd like to get a GoPro and just make videos about biking adventures, and maybe I can do some boxing stuff and talk about, hey, what's it like to start boxing as a woman in your 40s? Because it's been pretty unique, and it's fun. Camping, things like that. I could just, things that aren't necessarily related to being transgender or gender identity or any of that stuff. But also, I want to make some messages, some faith-based messages that aren't focused strictly on gender and, whether or not it's a sin to be transgender, or, getting into things like sexual orientation. Is it a sin to be gay or lesbian or any of that stuff that I have previously addressed on this channel. There are a lot of other topics I'd like to address that aren't necessarily centered on gender identity or sexual orientation or any of that stuff. So if you want to, keep an eye on the channel. I will announce when I start the new channel, and you can go check it out, and you can follow both if you want to. So yeah, I hope everybody's having a great week. I know it's been a while since I made a video. I hope you're all doing well. Have a great 2023, and I'll see you in upcoming videos. Bye.